Rumors are starting to circulate that Jay-Z was so jealous of Tupac, he wanted to get rid of him so he could step up. And it looks like there might be new evidence to back up this claim. You would do it the most. You still can't act. You can't do no movies. You can't do a POC with doing. Come on. How can you be better than hip-hop? You one-shot, Charlie. Jay-Z was recently named the greatest rapper of all time by Billboard magazine, while Pac didn't even make it to the top 3. And this once again reignited the conversation about Jay-Z bribing and manipulating his way to the top. Fans are now saying that if Pac hadn't been killed, Jay would have never managed to secure his GOAT status. And several insiders recently pointed out that Jay had a lot to gain from Pac being dead. But does this mean Jay actually planned to hit on Pac? Or is this just another conspiracy theory? Let's get into it. Heads down. Putnam, if he had lived, he would have smoked everything. Walking after that album that he was doing, he had already showed us him almost finished with the new album. So for those of you who don't know, Jay-Z and Pac actually had beef back in the day, and it all started with Pac's rival, with Biggie Smalls. Both Jay-Z and Biggie hailed from Bed-Stuy, a neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York, and they became close in the early 90s seconds. Their 1996 collab, Brooklyn's Finest, put Jay on the map since he was still relatively new at the time. However, this track also reportedly ignited a feud between Jay-Z and Irv Gotti, the founder of Murder Inc. Records, who worked on Jay-Z's album Reasonable Doubt, claimed during his appearance on The Art of Dialogue that he actually warned Jay-Z not to do a track with Biggie because he knew it would cause issues with Pop. And Biggie actually started off as friends. However, their friendship turned sour following the 1994 Quad Studios incident, where Pac was ambushed and hit 5 times. Pac and his crew believe Biggie and Diddy were either involved in the incident or they knew about it and didn't warn him. Yeah, I think Pac is more upset that weren't getting back to him, that the people that did do this to him was affiliated one way or another with Biggie, and whether they was extorting him or what he got back, that they was going to do this to Pac. So this is one of the reasons that Pac was upset. And though both Biggie and Diddy denied their involvement, the beef between Pac and Biggie quickly escalated. Just months before Jay-Z and Biggie released Brooklyn's Finest, Biggie dropped Who Shot You, which further enraged Pac. Irv Gotti knew the tensions between the two camps were about to explode, and that's why he told Jay-Z not to put Biggie on his debut album. I tell you, you got to go back to Brooklyn's Finest. I was dead set against it. I was telling Jay, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he was like, why? And I was just like, Big is too strong. I said, but before we take over the world, we got to take over the West Coast. Before we take over the West Coast, we got to take over the East Coast. Before we take over the East Coast, we got to take over New York. Before we take over New York, you got to take over Brooklyn. And he owns all that. And I was like, this is not a whack. So I was just like, I was in fear that I was like, yo, you may come off like this, little man. You understand? However, Jay didn't listen to Gotti, and not only did he decide to record the track, but he also let Biggie mention Tupac by name, something Biggie had never done up until that point. On Brooklyn's Finest, Biggie raps got go coolio. Mine is getting too hot. If she had twins, she'd probably have 2 pops. Get it? 2 pops. And with this line, Biggie referenced the rumors that Pop was involved with Biggie's wife, Faith Evans. And he also took shots at Pac by basically calling him his son. And since Brooklyn's Finest was Jay's song, Pop started directing his anger at Jay. He was going right back at him. And then what Big did, which was like, that's why Pac was shooting on Jay, because of Brooklyn's Finest. If they have twins, she probably had 2 pops. Get it to Pop, and Jay's on the record with him. So now he's like, you ain't no like me, Jay-Z. Then he start bombing on Jay. However, some fans believe that Tupac wasn't really upset over Jay-Z's song Brooklyn's Finest, but he actually took issue with another song from Jay's debut album, 2222, which features the line Too Much West Coast. Either way, Pac went on to diss Jay-Z on several songs, including Bomb First, My Second Reply, and France on Bomb First. Pac called out Jay by name and marked his appearance on Joe's song and music video. Hawaiian Sophie and Bomb First. Pac directly threatened Jay and several of his East Coast rivals. As for France, the song features the infamous line FJZ, which was later sampled by Nas on the diss track Ether directed at Jay-Z. However, fans never got to hear Jay's response to these diss tracks because just 1 month after Pac finished recording these songs, he was killed in a drive-by. But see, few people know that Jay did actually respond to Pac. It's just that his response was never released to the public. One of Jay's diss tracks directed at Pac was called Scathing, and according to Jay's longtime producer, DJ Clark Kent, Jay chose not to release it out of respect for the fact that Pac died. However, Jay's ego was bruised by Pac's diss tracks, and though he never released Scathing, Kent revealed that Jay performed it live because the chip on his shoulder was so crazy, he just had to do it. And it's funny because before he performed the record, he was like, "Yo, no disrespect to the dead, but you just can't say whatever to me." Oh, so he actually performed it after Pac passed. Yeah, we was at the Apollo. What's also interesting is that Diddy's former manager, Gene Dale, recently claimed that Jay was so terrified of Pac to the point where he didn't want to leave his hotel room in Las Vegas because Pac and his crew were there. The story is that Jay was going to try to perform in Vegas, but Pac was in Vegas and him and his dudes now, and they wasn't going to let Jay come out the hotel. They found out what Jay was at, and Jay wasn't going to come out the hotel. He was going to miss that performance or whatever like that. But I know he wasn't letting them do that concert, and Jay was scared them off. Jay wasn't coming out that hotel until he got clearance. Now, this story makes it look like Pac was paranoid and just doing the most to start something with Jay. However, a lot of fans believe that Jay was actually being very sneaky because he never came straight at Pac. But he and others on the East Coast did it subliminally to make Pac look crazy when in fact they started the beef. Some fans also believe that the reason Jay never released this diss track directed at Pac wasn't out of respect, but rather because Jay just wasn't able to come at Pac with a solid diss. At the time, Jay wasn't really lyrically advanced yet, and many fans think he was low-key, jealous of Pac's success. Nas also revealed in his 2001 interview with Felon magazine that during a party thrown by Steve Stout around 2000, Jay told him he was a better rapper than Biggie and the DMX, and Tupac only appealed to those starving on the street type dudes. "We were kicking it and he told me he's better than Biggie." Now, Nas said, "I looked at him like he was crazy. Then he really got crazy. He said Tupac and DMX were not lyricists. I told him that I disagreed with him, that Tupac was the greatest ever period, and that DMX really brought that streak back into the game." Now, being jealous of POC and Snick dissing him is one thing, but that doesn't mean Jay actually has something to do with Pac's passing. Or does it? Well, there are a lot of fans who think Jay planned to hit on Tupac, and these speculations were recently fueled by Atlanta rapper and founding member of Goody Mob, Big Jip, who said that if POC was still alive, Jay wouldn't stand a chance. During his appearance on The Art of Dialogue, Big Jip was asked how he feels about Billboard magazine naming Jay the greatest rapper of all time and putting Tupac at number 4 behind Jay. Kendrick Lamar and Nas and Gibbs said the only reason Jay is considered the GOAT is because of Beyonce. To me, Tupac's the only reason why you mention Jay past Tupac because he got goddamn Beyonce. You take Beyonce away then. Though boy, yeah, he might rap better than POC, but POC came with the heart. That's different. It's just different. You can't beat that. You can never beat the heart, bruh. But Dip didn't stop there. He also claimed that if POC was still around, he would have Beyonce on his arm. Pac was here. You think if Pac was here, who do you think the girl would have been with? Hold up. Oh, look, it's about being with the biggest. Huh. You would do doing the most. You still can't act. You can't do no movies. You can't do a part with doing. Come on. How can you be better than the part? You one shot, Charlie. You're just the best at your one shot. That boy was a triple threat. Did groups that were successful, solo albums, successful, and movies that were successful. Hands down, partner. If he had lived, he would have smoked everything walking. To be clear, Dipton suggests Jay actually has something to do with Pac's passing, but many fans are saying that they wouldn't be surprised if Jay was somehow involved because he would have resented how everyone loved Pac. See, people loved Pac before he had money and fame, whereas Jay, well, much of his reputation is based off his wealth and his entrepreneurship. And when you take that away, he simply doesn't have the charm that Pac had. Fans are now also speculating that even if Jay wasn't directly involved, it's possible he was aware it would happen because of his affiliation with Diddy. See, according to former LAPD detective Greg Kading, who investigated the incidents of both Tupac and Biggie Smalls, Diddy paid Keith, a member of Southside Crips, $1 million to take out both Pac and Suge Knight, with Sugarman ducking. He couldn't really talk because he was too big. Yet Keith has now identified his own nephew as the of Tupac Shakur, bolstering Cefade's claim was an informant in 1997 who told investigators that Puffy had hired the Southside Crips to kill both Shug and Tupac. What's also interesting is that last year, Diddy praised Jay-Z in an interview, telling him he filled the shoes after POC and Biggie. Fill them shoes, though. You fear you came in and you know what I'm saying. So we definitely give thanks for you. You know what I'm saying. Because you definitely, came in and I just know how much Big like really looked up to Jay. You know what I'm saying. They looked up to each other. And, yeah, that is crazy to have to step into the shoes of, two people because that's all it was really, was those two people. And they had the game. They had things on lock. Hove was coming, Yeah, but it was like these two cats was just so big, you know what I'm saying. And then so it's like to have all of that, come on, you and have that responsibility to keep this shit flying and keep the art of it going. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Because I think Cold really kept, Cold kept the art of it going and was able to take where they was at and take it, you know what I'm saying, take it even higher. So again, Jay-Z was never directly implicated, but there's still a lot of speculation among fans whether Jay was aware of Diddy's plan to pay $1 million to get rid of Pop. Fans are also now saying they wouldn't put it past Jay-Z, especially when you think about how as soon as Pop, Biggie and Ilya died, Jay and Beyonce entered the stage and blew up. One fan said, "To be honest, I never liked Jay-Z. His music is boring and he's sneaky af. They say billionaires become that way by stepping on manipulating others." And another person added, "Tupac said Jay-Z was a snake decades later and the voice of POC speaks volumes. But let's hear your thoughts on this. Do you think Jay-Z actually has something to do with Pac's murder? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, make sure to check out this next story.